All right. So, two professionals walk into every inspection. The inspector finds whatever it is that they're looking for, and it's our job as real estate agents to help our clients decide what to do next. Those are two very different jobs, and we have to stay in our lane. So, welcome to the Strategy Room, hosted by Knoxville real estate professionals. Today, not only am I talking about home inspections, but Alex is with me, and we are just going to trade war stories and talk about the importance of why skipping inspections are not a good idea and just all the things because our broker trained us not to ignore inspections. We have been to them, we've watched the process, and now we know how to help our clients. Hey Alex, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I am tired.
Same. I feel that.
Oh man. So I feel like that there is a what is the inspection actually for talk and then what it's actually used for, right?
Yeah, I could go both ways on that.
Yeah, because like I feel like the inspection, it's supposed to be a non-biased third party opinion, right, about the structural integrity of the home or anything that's like any defects or anything like that. They're supposed to be looking for things that are dangerous or up needs
Just wrong.
upgrading or do what?
Just anything wrong with the
Yeah,
house.
just anything wrong with the property. And I feel like what that has turned into is a second negotiating spot in a purchase
Absolutely.
and sell contract.
Yeah, because you use it as a bargaining chip.
Yeah,
Oh, we
I find
found
that
this.
I
We can
find
cut
that
this much
annoying.
money off of it. Like, no, you can't. You cannot bring the
Like,
price down
the room
grand.
is pink. Can we negotiate that? No.
I don't like the light fixtures. Okay, cool.
Yeah, Lowe's has a million.
Oh, the house I have under contract, they have these gaudy crystal chandelier looking things all throughout the house. And they're like, yeah, we don't like those. I'm like, good, take them
Like,
down.
well, they
It's fine.
function, so they're
It
not a
locks
fire
the
risk.
room up. Here we go.
Yeah, I've had several like in the early years when people would come back with inspections because you get that god awful report or it feels
Oh,
awful, where it's just really big and it's scary and there's red letters everywhere, which is like I feel maybe it's triggering.
80 pages long.
It's
Everything's
90
brown.
pages long, lots of disclaimers. And like so they get this report and they're like, the house is falling down.
Right.
And so then I'm looking at it and I'm like weeding through all of the stuff that, that we are trained to like, this is a disclaimer, like this is an actual thing that's about the house. What does the yellow mean? What does the red mean? So it's like getting in the weeds with those clients and trying to educate them on the fact that inspectors are looking at a house based on current building codes and what's
Yeah.
up to code, but they're judging like building codes for 2026 versus a 1974 house where
Right. Right.
things were done different. And if you're in the country and if you're on a rural property where it's a little lawless, it's a different story. So like how do we see like from a listing side because I know you've had several listings as well as me, but like so how frustrating is it as a listing agent where you receive like your list of like repairs or whatever, but you can't actually like we don't get to see the report. It's just like, hey, we want these things
Oh,
done.
I try to get a copy. Like I want the agent to send me at least part of the inspection report so I can read through it myself and say,
Exactly.
okay, I had one, and I swear he wanted us to take the deck down, rebuild the deck
Yeah.
because there was something, it was like flashing or it was something stupid. And he's like, the whole deck's ruined. You have to replace it. I'm like, no, we're not going to replace an entire deck because of something stupid. They end up walking. The buyers walked because of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Crazy.
it's incredible like it's such a weird bargaining chip and it's such like it doesn't even feel like you're under contract until you're past inspection and past appraisal
Right.
because like there's those two places that it just feels like it opens the door for renegotiation. I've said this before to several people. I feel like we're backwards when it comes to going under contract and like, obviously the buyer needs to do their due diligence, but I feel like as a seller, like why are we not getting inspections prior to listing the house?
I actually had a lady reach out. They own an inspection company, and we're getting ready to list my boss's house.
Mm,
She's like, "Can you do a pre-inspection on it?" And I'm like, "Absolutely."
That's the
Let's go ahead and
best.
knock
You're
that
my
out.
new best friend.
Yeah, knock that out first and be done with it.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like that would be. I'm not saying that like the buyer wouldn't find something where it's like, hey, I know that this is a thing. Is the seller willing to go halfway on it? Because everybody's got a different story when it comes to what they can do in repairs. Like maybe you have like an elderly client that physically doesn't have the cash reserves to make these big repairs or can't do them themselves. Like
Right.
there's some sort of a story where it's like, I can't, I'm strapped, I can't do this. And then the buyer is like, can't like this. So it's really just trying to come together and find a negotiation piece that, works for both parties. And sometimes it does end up in a dropped, in a terminated contract, which is always frustrating because as soon as that goes pending and or it goes from pending back to active and you have to disclose the things that then it makes it more difficult to sell the house. I've never understood why we get inspections, like why we don't get inspections first.
Yeah, I think it's smart. Just go ahead and find out all the defects because if you know
Yeah.
before listing it, if the seller can fix it, go ahead and get it fixed.
Yeah,
All the
absolutely.
day.
Yeah,
You might get
absolutely.
more money out of it.
Maybe. Yeah. And then,
If
and
it's not
also
on the
too,
market
like,
yet, I mean,
yeah. And then you get the sellers that try to like pull one over and they know that there's something and they've like fixed it,
I've
but
had
then
that.
it comes up in the inspection again. And it's like, hey, remember when I told you that the inspector was going to find it? And we need
You
to make sure we need to make sure that we are disclosing everything with the property because the inspector will find it. It's gonna come out. Like remember when I said that? Yeah. So many
okay,
stories. My experience tells me that the inspector is going to find it. So it's just better to be honest.
yeah, I've had a few of those.
Yeah.
I got
I
one. I had it
remember, of
listed downtown, and they never told me anything about it. There was a big water issue in the basement. Couldn't
course.
find out like 2 days before closing. They came in to do a walkthrough, and guess what's flooded? The basement. Guess who had to
Mm,
fix it? The sellers, because they didn't tell me.
yeah.
They're like, it's never done that before, and I'm like, I'm
Okay,
pretty
sure.
sure this ain't the first time.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I will buy that.
It was a 15, I think it's about $15,000 repair.
Yeah, it's so expensive when you try to hide it too. So much more expensive. It's like, let's just be upfront about it.
Right, like it makes it so much easier.
Yeah, so much easier. I remember the first deal that I did, and I don't know if you remember this one or not, if John ever talked to you about it. But so it was this cute little house. It had been, flipped and it was like very trendy, gray walls, white cabinets, like it was very trendy. And first deal on like the front end of COVID. So like it was 2019, stuff was happening over
It's
like
right
on a
for
cruise
the
ship
boom.
right before everything shut down in 2020.
Yeah.
And so I remember like that's also when the real estate market started to pick up quite a bit as well because it was under contract within like hours. And John's like, this isn't normal. Like this doesn't happen all the time. And so it was under contract and we're ready to go. And then we get this report back and like the buyers walked away because it was too much for them to do at the time. So,
Right.
which I get that. Buyers know their limits, sellers know their limits. And so I'm like, but my seller hadn't owned this property for that long. So my head starts to like try to fix it, right? Because that's how my brain works. So I'm like, so I asked permission for that buyer to send me that report. And I asked my seller for the report that they had done a year or so prior to getting, I wanted to see them side by side. I wanted to see both of those reports. And it was like looking at two different houses on the report. And I don't remember who the inspectors were, but it was like the one report was like, it's not that bad. Like they're like, this is stuff to look out for. This is that. And then the other report was like, all of it's a red flag. And I was like, what is happening? And so we ended up having to work together to figure out a way forward to be able to provide the upgrades and the repairs needed for the property. And That one always stuck out to me because I've learned something on every single deal that I have ever done. I get the weird ones. And that one I was just like, how can two opinions differ so much when it comes
Depends
to the
on the
same
person looking at
house
it.
a year apart, you know?
Yeah, it shouldn't be night and day within
Yeah.
a year. I mean,
Yeah, it felt completely night and day different. And I was like, I even think I think even on one side, the inspection said couldn't access the crawl space. So it like was just like couldn't access the crawl space, can't, wasn't able to inspect the crawl space. And then the second agent was like, I have a drill, get in the, got in the
all
crawl
right in
space and
there.
was like, here's all the issues. And so because he was able to get into the crawl space, found a whole bunch of stuff. But I was like, how? It was just a very strange learning opportunity to be like, how is this different? How can you not access the crawl space? Like those were all the questions that I had. And it's just learning that people work differently.
I feel like it's people that are just lazy. They look at it and they're like, oh, I have to have a drill. Can't get in there. Sorry.
I don't do crawl spaces. It's like I also don't do crawl spaces, but
But
here
have
I
I
am.
been in one?
I
Yep.
got under that crawl space to have to take pictures for something. And I was like, this not a fan.
I've been in a few and they're
It's
not the
creepy.
greatest thing to be in.
Yeah, don't like spiders. Um, so tell me, what is the time where a inspection report either like almost killed the deal or just completely obliterated it for you that stands out? Like the not like the top one. If you like hear inspection, you immediately think of this issue that you had.
Or the water in the basement, that was a big one.
That's the
Like
big
that was
one.
just, yeah, that was a big one because it almost killed the deal. And this deal drug on for months.
Mm,
I had another one, wasn't quite, well, it's not wasn't quite an inspection. So it was digging perk holes, and me and the client had to get out there and dig the perk holes out in the field. That was super fun because the guy would not come
like
out.
I would.
One, I had one, it was a little farmhouse out in Straw Plains. And I swear these people fell in love with it. I'm like, I don't know if you should buy this or not. Like you could drop a ball and it would just roll all the way across the house.
Oh,
And I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's foundation issues. And they're like, it's fine. So we got Shannon. He crawled up underneath this old farmhouse, and it was like a 1899 old farmhouse. And
yeah.
he's like, I wouldn't buy this. It's like it's pretty rough down here.
You need to have a foundation
They ended up
engineer.
buying it. They ended up flipping it, I think. But I mean, I've had some crazy stuff on inspections.
Yeah, foundation is like always the biggest one. And what's funny though, it's so common in Tennessee. I feel like it's common in East Tennessee for there to be some sort of a flag about foundation and settling. And
Oh,
I'm like, so every client that's like relocating to here that has never lived here before, and I'm like, listen, East Tennessee is basically red clay mud. You get under like you get under the top levels of soil and that's what you're going to find it. And like especially if you've got like a property that's on the lake and it's on a hill and like it's
oh yeah.
gravity continues to gravity. It's there's going to be
Yeah,
some
you will go
shifting.
down the hill eventually.
Yeah, there's gonna be some shifting that happens. And like knowing, I took a class once on like knowing the difference in like cracks that you see in a foundation. Some of it's normal, some of it's natural settling and different things like that. But it really helps to just like have that professional opinion about like that
Yeah.
does foundation so that way you know exactly what the price tag on it is because that gets really expensive really quickly.
Oh, it's 15 plus. Easy.
Yeah, easy.
But I went and looked at one in Crossville. But these guys, they were looking for a I swear to you, they're using VA loan. As soon as I get here, I was like, nope, we're leaving. He said, why? Half the foundation. Like we walked around the house and half the blocks are missing. Like you could just stand there and look into the crawl space. I'm like, yeah, this is gonna fall down any minute.
Yeah,
Like if I get
especially if
in
you're on
this
a
house,
VA
it's gonna
loan. The
fall.
VA people are going to show up and be like, absolutely not.
No, any loan I think is gonna show up and say, nope.
Yeah, it's like
I'm
that's
telling
going to
you,
have to be fixed if you want us to do it.
if there weren't 50 blocks missing, like you could just crawl through it and get into the crawl space.
That's terrifying. How would that house
And it
not
was
fall
not
down?
disclosed. And it didn't disclose it. There was nothing on the
Isn't
nothing.
that great when it's like visually obvious? And then you go
Oh,
back
it was.
through and flip through the disclosure form and there's like nothing on there.
Oh yeah,
It's like, is there any
it's
defects on
perfectly
the
fine.
foundation? It's like, well, half the whole foundation is missing. So,
It's
but
sound though. It's perfect.
absolutely. Every time, every time. I remember I remember once I was working with a relocation client and they never came in for this inspection and there wasn't really much. It was a bunch of little things. But they had like because they were so far away, they couldn't come in. Like they were, several like they were in a completely other state across the country. So it was not easy for them to just come in
Right.
and do the inspections willy-nilly. So they send me like I tell them I'm like, okay, so once you pay the inspection, like once you pay the inspector, you'll be able to download the report. Let me know when you do that. We'll go through it together. Well, they just read it because like people are intelligent. They can read reports. I'm not saying
Yeah.
you can't read a report. That's totally up to you. But then like the piece that got broke down in like translation is there was no consultation like in the middle. It was
Right.
just like, hey, we read the report. Here's what we want to fix. And it was a laundry list
Oh, I'm sure.
of stuff, some of which was like, didn't make sense for it to fix. Like they asked for, like, I think it was in the 80s or 90s, and like inspectors or whoever in the comments correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was in the 80s and 90s when brick homes started putting those weep holes in
Oh
like the
yeah.
bricks so that way moisture would get, it would have a place to come. It wouldn't settle in between the brick and the wall. Well, this house was built like on the cusp of that change. So it did not have weep holes and they wanted them installed. And
I've had a client ask me that too.
I was like, my instinct tells me that is not how that works, but I don't know how to articulate that to a client. Like I find that a lot where it's like my instinct, and I have pretty good instincts. It's like my instincts will be like, that's not how that works. I don't know how it does work, but I know that's not it. And so I was
Yeah,
like,
I had clients say the same thing.
I had to talk it through with John. I was like, help me make this make sense to my clients because I know that that's incorrect, but I need to know why. And here's my first thought. And it was that it was going to destroy the integrity of the brick wall in general. So it's really just something that's like, hey, there's an absence of this. You need to look out for this because of that, not this is a repair that needs to be done.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy when they ask for stuff you can't do it. Like physically it'll hurt the house more to do it than just not have
Yeah. Yeah. What's the weirdest thing an inspector has ever flagged that turned out to be nothing?
it. They always put loose toilet and make it like a major concern every time.
I have had one inspection where there was a loose toilet and it was because the subfloor around the toilet was starting to rot.
I've
Um,
had one of those, but
yeah, where and
every
like that's
believing
not
and
really a
shaking.
hard fix. Like, but it does require some construction. Like you've got to rip up the floor and you got to replace the subfloor and like sure it up and things like that. But every time I'm like, and I feel like there's a loose toilet on every inspection. I feel like there's also like a light bulb situation where it's like, or a GFCI outlet needs to
Oh,
be
every
switched
single
every time.
every I had one though. This is actually a pretty good one. So it was a beautiful house up in Dandridge, and
Hmm.
people came in to buy it because had it listed. They were putting 75% down, like just taking the whole house. No inspections, no appraisal, nothing. So it's been about a week or two after closing. They call us up and they're like, hey, the water pressure sucks. We're like, okay. And they sued my clients over, I think, a $2,000 fix. I'm like, well, you didn't get an inspection. I was like, and this is the county's, whatever, that's how they regulate the water. And they took them to court. Of course, my people won, but that's why you get an inspection.
Get an inspection because you don't know. Like
They
and
never
that's what
came
I
and
try
did
to
them.
educate buyers on
Like
too.
they
It's not
never
that,
saw the house.
yeah, and like not all sellers are out to get you. Like when you live in a home, especially like for like if you're selling a home that you've lived in, I feel like you go nose blind to a lot of these like things where it's like, oh, the water pressure's, kind of off, but I'll call the plumber later because life happens. You're out here
Oh
working,
yeah,
raising kids or whatever. You just
they
go
have talked
nose
to
blind to
the
that stuff.
county
And I don't know about
officials.
you. I'm not hanging out in my crawl space all day, every day. I
No,
don't know what's
I wouldn't
happening down
imagine.
there. You know, it's like I'm not looking for that because I'm not a home inspector. I'm just living in my house. So like that's also a thing too that I have to like kind of combat with when I'm working with buyers is like the seller is not out to get you. They're not
Right.
trying to hide anything. Like usually these things are found because of a home inspector because the seller doesn't really
They're
know
not
what to look
looking.
for. Yeah.
Well, so it's
I
not
mean,
supposed to
unless
look
your
for
house
any
is
defects.
literally falling in, a seller's not going to know when there's like a slight shift
No.
in the slope of the floor. They're not going to really notice that, but you will because you've never walked in here before. So it's
Right.
like just making sure that we're coming together from a place of understanding. At least that's what I try to do because it very quickly could be like, well, they tried to lie and they're just trying to get money out of me.
Oh,
It turns
every
into a
time.
feud. And I'm like, we're not that deep here. Like,
No.
let's take a break. Let's take a breath and just realize that the sellers have a house to sell. Not every house is perfect. Even new construction, you're going to find issues. And not every
Well,
buyer is trying to swindle money out of a seller.
a lot of Mark, but that's because I think
Not usually if they're just trying to find a house.
like these people I've got under contract, they're not going to try to ask for any repairs. They just want to make sure it's
Yeah.
not falling in.
Yeah. It's like, is there a roof? Like, I want to know what the list is. Like, I want to know that. And that's what I feel like the inspection is for, where it's like, this is this is what the inspector has found. Are you okay with moving forward?
Right.
I feel like that was the intention. And then it became, well, they found some expensive stuff. Let's ask for it, which
Worst
became,
case, worst
let's
case, they
ask
say
for
no.
everything. And now that kind of has escalated into this, well, if we don't like whatever on the inspection, we'll just kill the
We'll just
deal
back
and
out.
it'll be fine. You'll get your earnest money back.
Just crazy because it's always it's always small stuff too that'll kill a
Yeah.
deal.
I've seen
Like
that.
the
I've
inspector's
seen
like
that a
the
lot
roof's
and I
like 10,
don't,
15 years old, and they're like, oh my gosh, you can't do that. It's like you still
yeah.
got 50 more years. Like,
Yeah. And for me, I feel like it's something that's deeper and they're looking for a quick excuse or a quick
yeah,
reason to walk away to not have to explain like the vibe is off or something like
right.
that. Yeah.
And you get it all. I mean, buyers will just make a huge list. Like, if they don't repair all of this, we're leaving. It's like, okay, well, they're
Yeah.
not going to do all
Yeah.
this.
Or like stuff that can be like a very fast Home Depot run, but you got to be careful that you can't just be like, "Oh, that's a Home Depot run," even though everybody knows that it
Right.
is. Like you can't just say that because we're not the inspector. But
Right. Inspection reports basically like a honey-do list for the most part.
yeah.
What
Yeah.
do
I
you
mean,
do
and
as
that's
time
it.
goes on? I
And looking
mean,
for red flags. Yeah.
mhm.
Where it's like,
Unless it's
then
like
that's the
major.
home ownership piece.
Yeah, I mean that's what you get for buying a house.
Yeah. Do you have
I
like
don't
a
know.
script of anything that you say to clients before they get their report or
I
like
tell them we're
each
just going to
case a
read
little
through it
different?
together, and I'm like,
Yeah.
look, a lot of it's going to say it's going to be red. It's going to look bad, but it's not bad. Like, we can go through it piece by piece, and
Yeah.
I'll explain to you like it says red, but it's really an easy fix. I mean, they might actually fix this, but
Yeah.
don't freak out over it because it's going to be 80 pages long anyways.
Absolutely.
Every
And
single
I
house.
always encourage my sellers, like once they get that list, it's like, don't just read like the headline, because a lot of these reports are digital now. So you're not getting like a full PDF. You can download one and save it to your computer, but it's like an interactive report. So if you just wanted to see all of the red stuff, like it's just going to give you like a highlight reel situation, where it's
Yeah,
just a
so that.
headline. But you got to go and read like the notes that are attached to it because oftentimes those headlines are like pre-loaded into whatever software the inspector is using. But in their report is their comments where, like, so for example, if the roof is older, and like I've talked with inspectors about this, that like a roof can show age after like 3 to 5 years, but it still be a
Mhm.
perfectly fine roof. But the inspector has to note that it's showing signs of age. And it's not anything that the sellers did. It's just the fact that it's a roof and roofs are not immortal.
And I mean, it might be sitting under a bunch of trees.
Yeah.
So I mean, you
Or
get
it could
some
have been like
client.
we had a heavy rain the past, like a heavy rainy season for the past year, or something like that, or it got really dry over the summer and, things started to move and shift and, you know, but just like so they like say like, okay, roof is showing signs of age, but they have to note that. But then that's going to trigger, and I feel like with unexperienced agents, like an agent will be like, oh, well, we just want a new roof.
Right.
Well,
They're not going to do that.
new roofs are not cheap,
Mm-mm.
So that's what the seller's looking at, where it's like, I really am not comfortable putting a new roof on a property that I'm not going to live in because
Right.
that's a $10,000 investment minimum usually if it's, shingles. Like,
Yeah.
and if it's in a neighborhood that has like restrictions and stuff, you can't just always go for a metal roof. So it's things like that for an inspection for me where it's very, you got to walk the line between, am I the realtor helping you make a decision and like, or am I curbing expectation on what home maintenance looks like? And that's always a
Yeah.
fine line I feel like to walk.
It is because they're scared. They don't want to just jump into something they think they're going to have to put thousands and thousands of dollars in. We got to calm them
Absolutely.
down and show them, like, okay, it's not as bad as it looks.
Yeah. Absolutely. What
That's
is
where,
one thing that you wish someone had told you about inspections early in your career?
honestly, I don't think anything because we always went to all the inspections.
Yeah,
We've
always,
always had
or
good
well, I would
inspectors
show
that
up
would
a little
explain
bit
it.
late, give the head inspector a head start. But yeah, I feel the same. Like we were trained very quickly about inspections and how to help clients work through that process and be able to, remind clients that everybody's here for the same goal. Like
Yeah,
you're under contract, you have a seller that wants to sell a house, you are a buyer, you want to buy the house. Everybody's goal is to get it towards closing in an amicable way. And I feel like that gets lost sometimes,
it
especially if
does.
you've,
We've shadowed well, many different inspectors.
oh
They're all
yeah, I've worked with
different,
several.
but I mean, they'll sit there and explain it to you. Like,
Oh
here's my
yeah, that's always my favorite. So it's like, okay, talk to me like I'm four. Okay.
right, right.
Explain this to me like
Good
don't call
words.
my dad to work on my house.
Well, that's a good thing about finding the right inspector is they'll explain what they're looking at. So it
Yes.
helps. Like even if your clients are out of town, at least I go there. Like if they can't make it, I'll go and do the whole. I'll do the
Hmm.
whole inspection with the inspector, and they'll usually for the most part explain it to me. Like here's
Yeah.
what we're going to write
And
in the
most
report.
inspectors, most good inspectors will do that with the client as well.
Mhm.
They'll get on the phone and like walk through it with them. And I feel like that's a rarity with inspectors too.
I can't remember which inspector it was, but I had clients. It was a young client. She was buying her first house, and he did the whole inspection. Came back out because we were there and took her around the entire house after he was done and pointed at everything he flagged like in a red. He was like, and just
Hmm.
really sat and explained it to her. Like, this is what it is. It's going to say this because I have
Hmm.
to note this, but really and truly, this is what it is. And
Yeah.
like,
And I think that's the importance of actually attending the home inspection that you're supposed like for your own home
mhm,
because you get the face-to-face time with the inspector that he can be like, okay, this is why I did this, and you can physically see it,
like
and
point it
then
out and be like, here, this is.
yeah, yeah, because I feel like that at least keeps the buyer in a this is my new home headspace rather than putting distance on it, and you're like kind of detached when you're looking at just a report on a computer or on a tablet or printed out. Because if you're just looking at it, then it kind of feels like, oh, this is not my house anymore. And it's
Right.
like an easy detachment. Whereas if you're able to go and walk the property and hear the explanation and ask your questions, be like, okay, is this a Home Depot run? Do I need a
Oh yeah, and
professional?
they'll explain it to you.
And
They'll
yeah,
sit
and they'll
there
be like,
and say,
oh
we're
no,
going to
you
do
can get
this.
this
Like
part
you can do
for
this
$20.
yourself if you want to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I think we are incredibly blessed in the brokerage that we have because John takes a lot of time to train us on these things that help make transactions go very smoothly, from talking to inspectors, then talking to appraisers. It's I don't know that that's taught everywhere. So it
I
kind of gives us a leg up to be able to help our clients the best way we can.
Yeah, I think the first, I think my first day of training was an inspection.
Yeah.
Like I met with John. He's like, "Well, we got to make a field trip," and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got
It wasn't my first one. I think I had virtual contract training first because I I was being trained with somebody else. So we were on like a three-way call. And so we were training on
mm.
contracts first. That was like my first evening of training. But like first day training was a field trip to go show houses. And then it was to actually go to the inspection to the one that got under contract. So it was really interesting to go and talk it through and meet with the inspector and get that face-to-face relationship started and just being able to learn all the things like
Yeah, I mean, it's what like because we can show houses and kind of point a few things out that you're going to find. I don't think a lot of agents do that. They
no. And
go in, show a house. Yeah, you like it? Cool. Let's put a contract. But like I
yeah,
talked to his
absolutely. Because
son.
like there was a few times where I've walked into a house and something's caught my eye, and I'm like,
Hmm,
I don't know why that is like that, but the inspector will know why. So it's like something that kind of clicks in their radar of like, hey, I've been around the block. And my biggest tell though, I'm very sensitive to shifting in the floor. So like if
oh
something is
yeah.
off, I will like take a step and be like, nope. And then I'll back over it and they're like, hey, what you doing? And I'm like,
Well,
the floor feels a little wonky. So if you are putting a contract in on this house, we'll make sure that the inspector is aware that this is a little off. Um, but that's kind of how it's like I go and look at houses too, looking for stuff like that, but knowing that I'm not the inspector, just noting that that's their job and making sure that
yeah, all the time.
yeah, it's like
Every
I'm not an
house is
inspector.
looking for water.
However, this feels off to me. I would have somebody look at it. I mean, it doesn't have to be one of those situations where the deal falls apart because of the inspection. I think it's just keeping lines of communication open, keeping expectations in check, and just
Key to
always be
it. I
educating.
mean, that's the key. The more we can, like I said, educate the client plus the
Yeah.
inspector, it makes it so much smoother.
Oh yeah, and I think it like any fears that the buyer has feel if they feel heard in that
Mm.
process as well. So because it's like I had a client once that was they had had a bad experience with termites. And so it had like which are not like termites are not the beat all end all of like things that can be wrong. If you leave them alone, they will eat your house. But it's one of those things where it doesn't have to be a problem, but they were put off by bugs, like any sort of bugs. They wanted all the bugs inspected because they had had a previous experience that turned out really bad. So it like that's also coloring what buyers are going through as well as like their past experiences and things. And I think you just have to be sensitive to their experience and also help guide them through, what's
Oh, so
next.
I've got an older lady I was working with, and I'm still working with her, but she had a huge mold issue that put her in the hospital.
Yeah.
So any house we walk into, she's checking. Like if it
Oh
smells,
yeah.
she's like, "I'm out. We can't do this one."
Yeah,
Which
and
is,
that's
hey, I mean,
I'm not, mine's not mold, but like if I was buying a house, and I've before we built a house, I was very sensitive to this anyway. My whole family like allergies for days. My parents ripped out the carpet in my bedroom when I was like 6 or 7. I've had hard surfaces in my living space ever since because my allergies were so bad as a kid. And I love that people have pets and I'm not begrudging the fact that you have a pet in your house, but if you have a dog or a cat and you have carpet or soft surfaces, I don't care how well you clean, I'm gonna know. Same thing with
you,
smoking.
you can
Like
smell
I can
it.
smell it. And if I'm gonna know, then you better believe that a buyer is gonna know. Like you can clean all day long, but that's still gonna be in there and it's gonna cause issues. So like I remember the first house that we looked at that was like not a new construction house. It was it had carpet all throughout. And I was like, we're gonna have to rip all the carpet out. And he was like, but the carpet's
Yeah.
fine. And I was like, no, because like I immediately walked in and I was starting like it was a vacant house. So like it wasn't that there was a smell, but dust. Dust started to kick
Oh,
up as soon as we walked in the house. And I was like, I can already feel it. Like, the eyes will start to swell, like your nose is trying to get itchy, but you're in a
the
professional
water is
situation, so you
already.
got to lock it down. Yeah. And so it's like that has to be a thing. Like, so our house is all hard surface. We've got a few rugs here or there, but like everything else is a hard surface for the flooring because of it started out as my allergies. I suspected that my husband had allergies, which he does. And then now my children have issues as well. So that was an investment that I took on the front end to help our health in the long run. That's what buyers are looking at too. It's not just like whether the carpet's ugly, it's like, what have you had in the house that has settled into the carpet?
I've got one. I got a story. So
Yes.
I sold this house up in Kodak. I mean, it's brand new, but they had like a mini farm, I guess you'd say. I mean, they had
Mm,
chickens, ducks, pigs, the whole 9 yards.
yeah.
I walk in, like you would have died. Like as soon as you walked in, it would just been like puff.
Oh
Because like
man.
the duck would come walking inside, the pig would come walking inside, but the people bought it and they're like, "Oh, we'll just take the floors out, whatever," because you can already imagine the smell.
Oh, well,
Like the animals.
absolutely not.
Nope, subfloors, everything they had to take out. They had
Oh,
all
yeah.
the ductwork clogged, like it was rough.
Yeah, I have uncles that worked in HVAC for decades, and my uncle, we were having issues with our HVAC once, and my uncle took a look at it, was trying to give us some advice on like what to do next. And he was like, make sure that like remember this and tell your friends, like kind of advice. He's
Right.
like, if you have pets in the house, like that hair is can be so fine that it's gonna slip through a filter
Hmm.
and get clogged into the coils and stuff of your HVAC unit. And I was like, that's crazy. Because normally when you think of pet hair, you think of clumps of pet hair,
Oh yeah.
but you
Like
don't
my dog
see,
sheds and it's this
yeah,
big.
you don't see the tiny little hairs that stay in the fibers. And I tell my mother-in-law this from time to time as well. They had a dog that was like living down, like it was just a little chihuahua. It's a tiny little dog. You wouldn't think that this dog would cause so many issues. And she was like, cause kept telling me all the time, it's like we vacuumed, we did this. And I'm like, Susan, I'm not judging you based on how clean you are. I know that you're clean. I watched you do this, but you cannot get the pet fibers out of the depths of carpet.
Right.
You
It doesn't
can't.
matter how
There's
many
not a
times you
vacuum
vacuum
alive
out.
that can make it happen. Not even the rainbows. Like they can't do it. Like it's in there. You have to replace the carpet.
Like it'll get a lot of it out, but you're never going to get all of it.
No, and if you've got somebody sensitive like to that stuff, like, or especially somebody that's living in the home, it makes it so much harder.
Hmm. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because they're always going to have runny nose or puffy eyes, and
Yeah.
they don't know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And we were able to track that with my son, like depending on like there were certain places that we couldn't go until we got his allergies under control because it would just make it worse.
Oh
And
yeah.
like even if we isolated him in a certain area, like and then you get the like people don't really get it, where I look like the crazy overprotective parent.
Oh, my youngest, same way. If you go outside, I mean, nose running.
Yeah.
I'm
Instant. Instant.
like, I
It's
don't know
like,
if
okay,
it's
we're
pollen, I
sensitive
don't
to
know if it's the
outside.
dog,
Great.
it's something, but I mean, it's just an instant, like runny nose, just everything.
Yeah, yeah. And that's part of it. That's part of like the due diligence of a buyer trying to figure out if the house is the house. And
Hmm.
I think the more that both sides understand that like generally buyers are not out to get sellers and sellers are not out to get buyers. And we
It
just
would
need to
make
have a
everything,
conversation to move forward.
it would make everything so much easier.
Oh yeah, it would be
They
so
would
much
just
smoother on
believe.
everybody.
I
Yeah,
will say, I
yeah.
think the funniest thing is when you're working with a buyer, and I tell this to every buyer because we'll go look, because I went and looked at 17 houses last week within 2 days because they were
Wow,
determined to buy a house while they were in town, which they did. They're under contract now.
that's a
I
lot.
told them because we went and looked at a few, and they're just like, "Oh, I like this. This is nice." I'm like, "You'll know it as soon as you walk in." I was like, "Everybody does it. As soon as you walk in the door, you go, oh, this is the one."
Yeah, it's a
Every single
vibe. It is a
person
vibe. And nobody takes that into account. Like you can't market that. There's no convincing like when you're buying a home. Now, investors, that's a different pot. I'm not going to stir that pot.
does. Yeah,
But like for home buyers, do not discount the vibe check. And I know that's a very millennial thing. Very,
but
very
it's
strange thing to say, but it is so true. Because if you get into that house and you have to talk yourself into buying it, that is not your house. You are going to regret
Uh-huh.
it and it's going to cost you thousands of dollars and you're going to hate life. Don't do
Yep.
it. Like wait for that vibe to check
Well,
out and then
I
move.
think, I think like the vibe, even when the inspection comes and they see all that red, orange, yellow, whatever color it is, it's not going to be as scary.
Yeah,
They love the house,
exactly. Because
especially if
like
it's just
that, because
well.
they feel at home there. They've
Mhm.
walked in and they're like, this is
So
it.
we went and looked. So we were at our last house, and they said, "Can we go look at one more house?" I said, "Sure."
Yeah.
There's this little bitty cabin up in Sevierville. So we went driving up there. I swear, if you didn't see the sparkle in this guy's eye, the funniest thing in the world. As soon as he walked in, he goes, "This is it." I'm like, "We
Yeah.
haven't walked through the door yet." He goes, "It's it. I can feel it." He goes,
Yeah.
"I love it." Of
And I
course,
feel like
it
that
couldn't
buyers
get
don't
that much
believe us
better.
when we say that. They're like, no, it's not going to be. No, it is. It's like you get, I don't, can't explain it. It's a phenomenon that can't be taught, but every buyer goes through it where it's like,
Mhm.
this is the one.
I
And like
swear,
everything feels good. And it doesn't even matter if there's a hole in the wall. They're like, I fix it. It's fine. I'll get
this house
it.
wasn't even big enough for him. They have two and one on the way, and it's them two. So you know,
Yeah.
five in total. It was a two-bedroom cabin that was 1,000 square feet, tiny. They really wanted a cabin. They're all, we
Okay.
could make it work. We couldn't get that house because the VA just something the agent was scared to take the VA loan just because where it sat in the driveway and
Yeah.
kind of stuff like that. The next house though was the one he didn't want to look at, but fell in love as soon as we walked into it. He was
Yeah.
like, "This is it." So that was our
Yeah.
backup.
Yeah.
Big four
So
bedroom, three bathroom. Like it's a nice.
yes. And it's harder if you're buying sight unseen because then you can't, it's harder to get that vibe check because
You're
it can
not
look
physically
beautiful
there.
online and it can look beautiful in person, but if it's not going to pass that vibe check for you, then might as well not even write the contract.
Yeah, I would never. Like there's
Okay.
some houses I tell them not to buy it just because I see stuff. I'm
It's
like,
like,
I'm not buying
I
that house.
would not do this, but I am also not you.
Like, if you want it, great. But I'm just saying, like we
I'm
walked in
happy to write
town.
the contract either way,
Yeah, I
but
was like, we can do it, but I'm
let's
just
take a breath.
like we
It's
walked
like,
into
let's
one.
calm down just a minute.
It
Yeah.
was a gorgeous house, like up on a mountain, great views, nice lot, looked brand new.
Mm.
We walked in the kitchen, you could see the water running down the ceiling all the way down the house.
Oh
I was like,
no.
yeah, I would stay clear of that. So we walked outside and
That's
the guy did roofing for a while. He goes, "Oh, look, a patch job." I was like, "Yep, that's right where the bathroom is, which is leaking down to the kitchen, which is running straight down the house."
Yeah, I remember showing a house to a young couple. They were buying their first house, and this house was like had an in-ground pool, like it, or maybe I'm mixing up two houses in this, but there was like I don't know, like I walked in, there was immediately like somebody had tried to scrub the cigarette smell out of the house, and I look over into the corner, and all I see is like just water stains, what appear to be water stains, and I'm looking, and I'm like. Because it was kind of darker. So sometimes, the light plays tricks on you and you have to like kind of study
Yeah.
it for a minute. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what that is, but it looks bad. And then I started following and like there was a crack along the where the wall and the ceiling
Oh yeah.
meet or this way. And yeah. And so like there's a crack in the sheetrock going along that wall. And I was like, I'm not saying no because that's not my job. It's your decision. However, that'll be a problem for you. Like
Like
that'll
we'll
show
come
up
up
on an
within a
inspection
week.
report.
Remember them
Yeah.
red flags we were talking about? There it is.
Yeah, like that is going to give me pause. Like I will do it, but be prepared for this.
Don't be
Yeah.
asking for that to be fixed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
All right. So the inspection is never the finish line. It's not really the starting point either, but it's really, if we just treat it as information, then our jobs as realtors become easier to help our clients know what to do with it and to just be the calm in the room while they decide. So I want to hear other people's inspection stories. So drop those in the comments. And until next time, we'll see you guys later in the strategy room.